Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Breaking mystery woman with Las Vegas shooter was just identified. Given what a labor-intense operation it must have been to prepare for and pull off the mass shooting in Las Vegas that killed 58 concertgoers, many in the law enforcement community have suggested that assailant Steve Paddock must have had help. Recently, news broke that Paddock had been seen with a woman around Las Vegas for the previous day or two, and law enforcement determined that it could not have been Paddock's live-in girlfriend Marilou Danley. According to station KABC-TV, local police have discovered that this mysterious woman was a prostitute. They have not yet released her identity as they continue to pursue this lead. Another interesting revelation is the fact that avid gambler Paddock went on numerous cruise trips around the world, some of which made stops in Middle Eastern countries such as Jordan and the United Arab Emirates. Explained CNN, the cruises included stops at ports in Spain, Italy, Greece, Jordan and the United Arab Emirates, according to information provided by a law enforcement source who asked not to be identified because the source was not authorized to share information about the investigation. Paddock's girlfriend, Marilou Danley, accompanied him on 9 of the cruises. Provocatively, ISIS has continued to proclaim that Steve Paddock was a soldier of the Islamic State through their Iraq news agency Monday and, on Thursday, doubled down on that claim in their newsletter. Detailed one commentator, #ISIS doubling down again on its claim for #Las Vegas attack, claiming Paddock converted to Islam 6 months ago and tallying casualties. What do you think really happened behind the scenes with Paddock? Tucker Carlson destroys Black Lives Matter supporter who claims the Constitution allows slavery. Tucker Carlson faced off against a Black Lives Matter activist who says that the Constitution currently allows slavery. Tucker Carlson started by asking him about BLM shutting down a free speech event. They held signs that said liberalism is white supremacy, and the revolution will not uphold the Constitution. What exactly do they mean when they say the revolution will not uphold the Constitution? Asked Tucker Carlson. There are issues of supremacy and privilege in this country and it starts from the framework. I pointed out one issue, like in the 15th Amendment, that actually still allows slavery as something that they might be pointing out that needs to be changed, said New York City Council member Jumaine Williams. That doesn't allow. Started Carlson. If you're in the prison, you can still be a slave. That's period. All your viewers that are going to tweet me later, they should just look that one up, Williams said. Meanwhile, more and more Americans are starting to see through Black Lives Matter. The FBI recently released a report called Black Identity Extremists Likely Motivated to Target Law Enforcement Officers. Domestic terrorism groups differ from traditional criminal groups in that they take action for a different purpose, to bring attention to a social or political cause. Therefore, their existence as a group has a legitimate purpose, at least in part. Their legitimate activity may include acts of protest, advocacy, and civil disobedience, it says. MSNBC reporter defies network, just slammed Lib host on air for telling Trump Russia lie. Figures in the liberal biased media are still trying to breathe life into the tired conspiracy theory about President Donald Trump working with Russians to win the 2016 election. Thankfully, one host on MSNBC apparently decided she had had enough, and slammed another liberal reporter on air after she told a falsehood about Trump and Russia. The latest liberal strategy to try and nail Trump for his alleged crimes is bringing up Facebook into the conversation and alleging that Russians bought ads on the social network with the express purpose of swaying the vote. Said left-wing reporter Casey Hun on MSNBC, dutifully, if you're looking for collusion between the Trump campaign and Russians, The idea that there might have been somebody who understood that they need to talk to people in Wisconsin and Michigan could suggest that that collusion happened. Unfortunately for Casey, this argument doesn't make sense because ad money was not focused on battleground states where Trump had a chance of winning. Shot back MSNBC's Carol Lee, proving what Casey said was wrong. What we know from two people familiar with these Facebook ads, they tell NBC News that the list of states that these Russian-tied ads targeted during the campaign includes not just Michigan and Wisconsin, which has been reported, but also Maryland, New York, California, Texas, Ohio, and Missouri. She continued, what it suggests is there was not necessarily what you would consider a traditional presidential politics targeting. States like California and New York are not states that are in play. Joking, Carol added, if there was a Republican operative guiding the hand of Russia in targeting these ads, that person should be fired. Because this is not how you would necessarily target ads if you were trying to get a Republican candidate, or even a Democratic candidate, to win. Are you glad Carol set Casey straight? Bill Maher made sick lie that Second Amendment was created to enforce slavery. In the wake of the tragedy in Las Vegas, liberals in the media have been running their mouths about guns, a topic very few of them know anything about. HBO's real-time host Bill Maher took things to another stupid level altogether when he said on his show that the Second Amendment was put in place to help enforce slavery. During a segment about guns on his show, Maher relied on the easy liberal trick of making everything about race and racism. Said Bill, I know it drives Republicans crazy when liberals say everything is about race and everything isn't about race. But I feel like guns is the one area where, if you can't see a giant difference between the way black and white are treated in America with guns, I think there's a little racism in you. I mean, show the Roy Moore video. Here's a politician waving a gun at a rally. After the video played, Bill asked former Tennessee Democratic Representative Harold Ford Jr., who is African American, could you get away with doing that? When Ford said no on cue, Bill continued, there you go. And the Vegas shooter himself, you know, it seems like when the shooter, if he was Muslim, certainly it would have been about, let''s. We got to get the band going. If he was a Mexican, it would be about the wall. And I feel like, when it's the white guy, it's like, we don't know how this happened. Maher then attempted to connect the Second Amendment to slavery, quoting the opinion of an oddball writer in the New York Times as if it were fact. Said Maher, all right, let me quote Gary Wills because I've read something he wrote in the New York Times on the 4th of July about the Second Amendment which I had never been aware of this. And I feel like I was waiting for the moment when I thought people would be paying attention to this issue. And it is apropos to this issue we're talking about. He went on, because he says the Second Amendment shows just how far the poison of slavery pervaded the Constitution. It was intended to protect slaveholders who used militias to keep a firm grip on their slaves. It wasn't meant to let individuals prevent federal tyranny. How could it? It was meant to guarantee the legality of well-regulated militias to handle the state's internal problems, especially the problem of a large slave population. Is this the left's nastiest lie yet about guns? Bobby Jindal just needed one word to destroy Michelle when she said GOP is all men, all white. During her 8 years as America's First Lady, Michelle Obama succeeded at very little beyond forcing our country's public schools to serve their students unpalatable food that mostly ended up in the trash. Unfortunately, now that Mrs. Obama is no longer in the White House, she has not had the dignity to graciously fade into the background and allow the new First Lady to express herself. Instead, Michelle has been continuing to stoke the racial divisions in our country that Barack Obama set in action during his presidency. Michelle recently gave a speech in Philadelphia where she claimed that the Republican Party is just white men. She gave a very bizarre example to back up her statement, contrasting the Republicans in the audience from the Democrats during Barack's State of the Union addresses. She said that the GOP side of the room was gray and white, describing, literally, that is the color palette on one side of the room. On the other side of the room, there are yellows and blues and whites and greens. Physically, there's a difference in color, in the tone, because on one side all men, all white, on the other side some woman, some people of color. She added, no wonder we struggle, no wonder people don't trust politics, we're not noticing what these rooms look like. We should be working actively to mix it up, so we're getting a real broad range of perspectives on every issue. Former Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal, who is of full Indian heritage and is a proud Republican, shot back with a perfect withering response. On his Twitter account, he simply wrote, pointing out the fact that he is just one of many examples of non-white Republicans. Is Michelle Obama an embarrassment? Democrats are not the family of values, Joy Behar calls Republicans hypocrites for having values. Pro-life Republican Representative Tim Murphy was caught urging his mistress to have an abortion. Now he is resigning. Joy Behar took this one case to attack all Republicans and call them hypocrites. She then said that unlike Republicans, Democrats don't have family values. I thought about how I had voted for Bill Clinton, who obviously had a little something under the desk. I also voted for John Kennedy in my youth, who had millions of mistresses, or whatever they called them in those days. Teddy Kennedy, who had Chappaquiddick, said Behar. The difference between me and the people who voted for Murphy is the Democrats are not the family of values. They don't go around taking abortion rights away from people or talking about gay rights being rescinded. They're not hypocrites, they're just dogs. You see the difference? Said Behar. Wow. Paul Ryan announced Tim Murphy's resignation. This afternoon, I received a letter of resignation from Congressman Tim Murphy, effective October 21st. It was Dr. Murphy's decision to move on to the next chapter of his life, and I support it. We thank him for his many years of tireless work on mental health issues here in Congress and his service to the country as a Naval Reserve officer, said Ryan in a statement.